get by just upon a smile. Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. I'll always remember you like a child girl.
Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be the first in hopefully quite a lot of video blogs about activism and the activist community. I'm going to be having special guests and interviewing some of my friends. I just wanted to start my series by telling you a little bit about myself and why I'm doing this. My name's Eleanor. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I had kind of an unconventional upbringing compared to some. I was homeschooled all my life. I never went to public school until college, and so I spent a lot of time with my mom and a lot of time in the community doing community work. My mom volunteered a lot of her time for the housing projects in Atlanta. Growing up in Atlanta and being homeschooled, we went to a lot of museums, and Martin Luther King, of course, is a huge figure, not just in the civil rights movement or in the history of this country, but particularly Atlanta, that being where his church is and where he resided for many years. So growing up, he became really a hero of mine. I looked at a lot of the things he did, and that he did them with faith in God, and that he was a Christian man, really meant a lot to me, because I have been a Christian my whole life, and my faith is a big part of who I am and why I do what I do. I remember as a child, I think I was probably 5 or 6 the first time I saw a Klan rally. The new KKK, or the current KKK that we're familiar with today, was actually founded in Atlanta, in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is just a little bit outside of Atlanta, but you can still see Klan members there on occasion. And I remember my parents were never shy about telling me who they were or what they did, you know, why they did what they did, which I think was definitely good. I don't think you should hide that kind of thing from children. I remember one time as a kid seeing someone, a homeless person on the street that was clearly very mentally ill, and I think my mom said something about, you know, the person being sick or needing help, and I remember asking, why can't they go to the doctor? Why don't they have help? You know, because as a child, when you're sick, you go to the doctor and you just think that everyone can. And I remember my mom telling me that Ronald Reagan was the reason, and that he had shut down mental hospitals and turned people out in the streets. And as a kid, just thinking, you know, knowing that that's not right, and not fully understanding why these bad things are happening, but knowing that something is wrong with our society, with our world. Also as a kid, my parents would watch Michael Moore documentaries. He also had a television show that was really good, where he would go and confront these CEOs and corrupt politicians, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I wanted to get out there with him. So fast forward many years, we moved from Atlanta to Jacksonville, Florida, and it was surprising to me in Jacksonville because racism is a lot more prevalent, a lot more out in the open in Jacksonville than it was in Atlanta. So we moved here when I was 15. Then I was about 30 or so when I saw Michael Moore on a late night talk show, and he was talking about the corruption and Wall Street, and he started talking about a group called Occupy Wall Street, and he said that they're a great group and if you can find one in your area, go and join it. So as soon as he said that, I was instantly on the internet and I found Occupy Jacksonville. And I got involved with Occupy Jacksonville, and I met some amazing people that really helped me learn how to be an activist and helped me to become stronger as a person and more strong in my convictions. I did a lot of work with Occupy. It was what we call reformist work. I would go before city council and argue to save the libraries. We would do protests, you know, different reformist things. When I talk about reformism, I'm talking about making changes within the system that exists, small changes to kind of tweak the system and make it a little bit better, more tolerable, more fair for those living under this system. So about a year after I joined Occupy, I joined up with some other activists in different groups, and we started protesting at the Jordan Davis trial. Jordan Davis being a young man that was gunned down and murdered in a parking lot of a gas station here in Jacksonville. And I started to become more aware of how prevalent racism still is, not just in Jacksonville, but in this country. And then Ferguson happened, and the Black Lives Matter movement started, and I became more awakened to systemic racism and the racism within the police force. Prior to that, I wanted to believe that there were some racist cops, but that it was just some. It wasn't the system. I went through a period where we were doing a lot of protests for different people of color that were being killed, shot. And I was at work one day and I saw on the news another young, unarmed black man had been shot by a police officer, and I got just a sinking feeling like I've never had before when I've read any of those articles. And the next day when I came to work, one of my coworkers stopped me in the parking lot, and he told me who it was that was shot, and it was the son of one of my coworkers. And it was just like a punch in the gut, that it was now hitting so close to home. So that happened in November of last year, that he was murdered. And shortly after that, there was a couple of protests in town here locally that were part of a bigger nationwide effort. The hashtag being Shut It Down. They shut down the interstate in the morning, and I was there filming that from one of the overpasses. And in the evening, I was arrested. You know, prior to that, I still had some hope for the system, some feelings that it could be fixed. But when I was sitting in the back of that police car, I just remember thinking, you know, this is real. Imperialism is real. It's not just something that I hear people talk about. It's here, and it's a problem. And I did a lot of praying in the back of that car. You know, I just wanted for some way to be set free, to be let go, to just get a ticket and be able to go home. And I do believe that the Lord always answers our prayers, but sometimes the answer is no. And He definitely told me that night that He was going to get me through it, but that I was going to have to go through it. And so I spent the night in jail, and it was definitely a real wake up for me. and I went through a period of fear after that. Fear of what could happen to me if I continue being an activist, fear of what could happen to me if I continue to speak out against this system. And I made it through the court cases, I made it through the probation, and when something like that happens to you, you really have two choices. You can either succumb to the fear, or you can let the fear make you stronger and more determined. And I've definitely let the fear make me more determined. And I know now that this system needs more than a few changes here and there. We need to educate ourselves. We need to determine our own future and not let these corrupt politicians and corporations determine it for us. So that's why I'm making these videos. I'm making these videos to help educate people about political theory, about terms like imperialism, capitalism, socialism, communism, to help people understand about the greater struggle, about why we're struggling, and to help bring different groups together. I think the biggest problem that we have as activists is that we're too focused on one struggle, that we don't realize that all of our struggles are related to a greater struggle. You see so many times within one movement that they are discriminatory against another movement. There's a lot of problems in this movement with sexism and misogyny, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and we need to come together and realize that we're all being oppressed under this system of capitalism.
I've seen a lot of what the world can do, and it's breaking my heart in two.